Hello, my name is Brad. This is my video blog for IOR 190. So today I'm going to be talking about the TED Talks that we watched in class, and all of these were about the patent system and some problems that are associated with it. So first one I want to talk about is Ellen T. Hohen, and she basically laid out some problems with the patents in the pharmaceutical industry, and she believes ultimately that to some extent that patent pooling could really help save lives and could advance cures in terms of with global health, and it could really help. So yeah, it could really do two things: A, help and save lives, and B, kind of help advance these cures that are ultimately created. So what she talks about, she kind of starts it off with talking about the Wright brothers in the early 1900s and how they patented a lot of different parts of the airplane, and some inventors were doing some very similar things, and they were viciously suing other people who would invent something, and they were really creating this sort of interesting dynamic. And so what the government did is they made it mandatory for these inventors and these people who had the patents to certain parts of the airplane to pool those patents together with the idea of sharing ideas and ultimately allowing everyone to have access to this, because they were in a time of war, and it was necessary to really have a strong military in order to advance the interests of national security. So this was kind of a mandated patent pooling, but so this really hasn't happened with the pharmaceutical industry. So I thought this is a pretty interesting stat. When pharmaceutical patents are enforced in certain countries, so when these patents are not pooled and the inventor owns the patent and it prevents other generic drug companies from creating something similar, the price of ARVs, which is a cure for HIV, is $12,000 per patient per year. So when these pharmaceutical patents are not enforced, like she gave the example of India, when they're not enforced and generic manufacturers are allowed to create a low-cost version of that cure and then sell it at obviously a low cost, the price of ARVs drops to $350 per patient per year. So what this says is that when you allow patents to be licensed out and to be pooled, so that a lot of different entities, whether it be not-for-profit drug developers or generic manufacturers, can use them, then you decrease the price and you allow third world poorer countries, oftentimes who are most affected by drugs or by diseases like HIV, to have access to these cures. So that was really interesting. Some brief stats in terms of HIV today: 8 million people have access to antiretroviral drugs, but there's 34 million people that are infected by HIV alone. So obviously there's a big gap there, and my biggest question was really, how can we bridge this gap? Hohen argues that if we do not take deliberate action, that there will be repercussions to global health. And one is that generic manufacturers are going to be scared away from producing something, because if there's no definitive action taken in order, like with regards to making these drugs and with regards to the patent system, then what'll happen is a generic manufacturer will not want to invest in the making of a copy of that drug, because they don't know if the patents are going to be available or if the licenses are going to be available. So that's one problem if we don't take deliberate action. The other problem is there's going to be a treatment time bomb, and basically a drug price crisis is going to occur. So the prices are going to rise again because right now what happens is that new drugs are developed and they go to market, but the patents are applied to a wider range of countries, and so it'll make it really hard for companies to create sort of a generic copy, and ultimately it'll drive those costs up. So what's being done to kind of alleviate this is, in 2010, the medicines patent pools was created, and this was, again, just a way to have these patents all in one area so that they could be licensed out to people who want them. So it could be a generic manufacturer, it could be a not-for-profit drug developer, like I talked about earlier. The idea is that these people who they're licensed out to then can then charge a much lower price, and the cost is also lower for the consumer. So more people ultimately have access to these cures. And Hohen believes that licensing this out and having these patent pools can really be a good thing, ultimately because it's going to save lives, but she also believes that we have the cures and the solutions to really break the back of the epidemic, of the HIV epidemic. It's just a matter of allowing those solutions to be accessed by the entire world. And she believes that patent pooling is the way to go about that. So that was really interesting. Personally, I believe that patent pools should not be mandated. I believe they should be voluntary. And the reason is because, as she's shown, some companies like Gilead and others are already voluntarily putting their patents into a pool. But I think that if you mandate that, you really strip the freedom and the independence and the really mainly the freedom of the inventors to do what they want with that patent. And you also, I think, in the long run, disincentivize inventors from discovering or investing in trying to find the next big thing, because they know that once they do, they're going to have to give it up. And I realize that royalties are a way to compensate them, but I don't think royalties are quite enough. But with that said, I think that this is a really big problem, and I do agree with patent pooling. I just don't think it should be mandated by the World Trade Organization. So thank you for watching, and go Bears.